I'm Josh Merhar, and today I want to talk about using your foot on the hi-hat pedal and all of the wonderful things that we can do. The hi-hats are the most versatile part of the drum set. They can make a really wide range of sounds, and you can unlock a lot of really cool ideas and potential by learning to utilize your hi-hat foot. So to get started with this, the first part of this video is really going to focus mostly on using the hi-hats with our foot while we're playing on the ride cymbal, and then the second half of this video will focus more on using our foot on the hi-hats while we're actually playing on the hi-hats. To ease ourselves into this, we're just going to close the hi-hats on beats 2 and 4. And to demonstrate this, I'm just going to be playing a really simple rock beat. I'll just have 1 and 3 on the bass drum, our typical backbeat on the snare drum, beats 2 and 4. And I'll be keeping 8th notes on the ride cymbal and then closing the hi-hats at the same time I hit the snare drum. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So another easy way to start including your left foot hi-hat would be underneath a swing pattern on the ride cymbal. We probably know what a swing pattern is, but in case you don't, it sounds something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you find that playing on beats 2 and 4 is really easy for you, then the next step would be to stomp out the quarter note on the hi-hat. So the hi-hat is going to mark the big beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use the same rock beat that I used for the first example, except now I'm just going to be doing quarter notes with my hi-hat foot. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So if you find that playing the quarter note with your foot isn't giving you too much trouble, then the next step would be to try to play the hi-hat on all of the upbeats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Another way to use the hi-hats with your foot, we could play every 8th note. So just kind of have our left foot, or whatever foot you're using to play your hi-hat, line up with your ride cymbal pattern. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. Highly encourage you to work through many different grooves while using these different hi-hat foot patterns. It becomes marginally more difficult when we have kind of separation between both of our feet. So if I were to start working in 16th notes on the bass drum while kind of keeping this 8th note on my hi-hat foot, you're going to find it's kind of difficult to balance when both of your feet are keeping real active. So it's important to keep your weight centered over the seat. And you want to have good posture and everything, and it's just going to make playing a heck of a lot easier for you. So an easy way to kind of spice up the 8th note hi-hat foot, we could work in left-hand embellishments that we would otherwise maybe play on the snare drum, but play them in the hi-hat instead. So as an example, I will kind of play the of beats 2 and beat 4 on the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We could also sort of hit the E of certain beats on the hi-hat if we want to, and it gives us a similar effect. Maybe something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then you can kind of start mixing both of those embellishments together, and that's where things could get really interesting. As an example, maybe something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... What if I were to play a dotted eighth note on my hi-hat foot, underneath just a straight ahead eighth note groove? That's going to really throw the feel of the whole pattern off. So I'm just going to play straight ahead dotted eighth notes on my foot. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And everything is actually going to resolve on beat 1 every 3 measures. So I'll mark beat 1 with a crash symbol when it all comes back around. So we'll have like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Another challenging thing that you can do with your hi-hat foot is take our straight eighth note pulse, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and offset it by a 16th note. So you'll be playing the E and of every beat with your hi-hat foot. And that could sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So another cool thing that we can do with the hi-hats involves sort of a splashing sound. We can kind of dig our heel into the pedal to get this sort of effect. So to close the pedal, I'm kind of stepping down on my toe, and then to get that splash sound, I'm kind of kicking my heel into the bottom of the pedal. Feels a little bit like tap dancing. And we can apply all of the same rhythms that we used before, now with this sort of heel-toe splashing technique. So maybe for this one I'll start with quarter notes on my left foot. And I'll kind of close them on beats 1 and 3, and do the splash on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and... And of course you could do the reverse, where you kind of splash on beats 1 and 3, and then close them on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we could of course apply this technique to playing all of the upbeats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we could apply the same technique to eighth notes. That constant eighth note we were keeping before, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and could turn into 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, you could switch where the splashes and the closed hits happen. So now I'll have the splashes happen on the downbeats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So things could get real strange when we start applying this sort of tap dancing technique to that dotted eighth note rhythm, or even those off sixteenths, all those E's and the U's. So if I were to apply this to the dotted eighth note rhythm, have like 1, 2, 3, 4. If I wanted to apply the same technique to all of those off sixteenths, the E's and the U's, that would leave us with something like 1, 2, 3, 4. So that kind of concludes the first part of this video. The second part of the video is going to focus more on using our hi-hat foot while we are playing on the hi-hats. So stick around for part 2, and thank you for watching.